So I have three basic questions here. What is a contingent workforce? Some of you know, some of you don't. Why do companies increasingly use a contingent workforce? And then third, how is it relevant for multinational enterprises? How do they take use of it? In general, there's a trend, particularly for during the last 10, 20 years, more contingent workers. So contingent workforce, first of all, what it is, it's workers whose jobs are dependent, or you can say contingent, upon work demand. So if we need someone to do a job, and we would hire someone to do only that job. So we do not hire permanent employees or workers, we just hire some people for a certain job to be done. That can happen in the automobile production process, someone who needs to integrate the new product, and for a certain amount of time, that person or many people will be hired. You can think of temp work agencies, so who dispatch workers for 1 year, for half a year. It can also be such as a secretary is on maternity leave and you need the maternity cover. So then you go to an agency who would then hire a person, would send a person to you for maybe 6 months or 12 months who will fill that job while the permanent secretary is on maternity leave. So these are all examples of contingent workforce. And there's been a huge growth in these temporary temp staff or contingent work during the past decades. Also in IT, because IT jobs can be easily cut into smaller parts. And each part, maybe designing a homepage, doing this and that, can be given to one contract worker. So here are some of the main reasons why we have so much contingent workforce nowadays. And statistics vary. In some countries, it can be 20% of the workers are contingent workers. So in a global aspect, from a global scale, there's a lot of interdependence of national economies across borders. So there's all kinds of connections. So you can easily outsource or recruit people, and they're connected and they can easily fill those jobs for you. And maybe also you need highly trained, versatile, skilled workers, but you only need them to do one task. I need someone to create a homepage for me. I only need one homepage. I don't need hundreds of homepages every day, a homepage, so I would contract it. I will hire a contract worker. That can also be a reason. By far the most important reason, however, is now the third one, saving the fixed cost of the workforce. Because employees are more or less fixed cost. You cannot easily fire people in most countries. In Germany, in Scandinavia, in France, in Japan, extremely difficult to lay off people because they are protected for good reason. Because people also, they need their jobs, they have families and so forth, they need income. So they're protected by law. And you hire people and you don't need them, you cannot just lay them off. And that also is a social dimension of it. From a business perspective, it's different. We have boom, we have recession, we have huge demand, low demand, we need to adjust. Nowadays, we are about to enter recession. That's what we all expect. And we already know in some companies, the order books, there's not much demand, not many orders following anymore. So companies need to react to less demand. You need to reduce cost. Reducing cost, typically reducing labor. But in many cases, if they're permanent employees, you cannot lay them off. But you can convert your workforce from one highly reliant on a permanent labor force to a contingent workforce, meaning depending on the market needs, you will just reduce labor force easily because these contingent workers, they're usually on a contract, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, maybe maximum 2 years, depending on the nation you're operating in. And then they can simply be let go. You don't lay off anyone, but you do not extend any contract anymore. And so that's by far the most important reason why so many companies are relying on contingent work. Then advantage also flexible labor market. In some cases, it's very easy to contract workers. Germany nowadays, they're trying to limit contingent work. because people who are under this contingent work have no protection, and they have limited pension, healthcare, and so forth. And there's also, to some extent, changing employee needs, expectation, lifestyle. Some people do not want to be tied to an organization. They want to be free, independent themselves. Here, just one example. The gig economy, maybe you've heard that. So there's very limited benefits, but you get immediate cash. If you're young, well, not bad. And maybe you can live in Bali or in some of these places, work anywhere, work for these companies, earn some money. It can be, or it can be a side hustle, as they say, side job. I do not recommend you to do that forever, but maybe as a part-time job, or maybe while you're young, why not? You gain experience and you earn some money. Here's also, gig work varies substantially across countries. Some countries, New Zealand, Singapore, Philippines, and so forth, are very open. They have lots of these opportunities. So what's the role of multinational enterprises here? Multinational enterprises, of course, they are companies, private companies. They're there to make money and being flexible. So they increasingly rely on contingent work to reduce fixed costs. You need to be able to adapt to changing demands. And you can easily then adjust contingent workforce, meaning you can hire people easily and you can also let go people easily. And that may also involve offshoring, outsourcing. We'll talk more about that in our next section. And then the reliance on contingent work varies substantially across countries. You saw the graph before. In some countries they use heavily contingent work, and others less so. Probably one of the main reasons why, more or less, depends on the regulatory environment. Because in principle, companies, they want flexibility. If the labor market is already very flexible, they don't need so much contingent work because they can easily lay off people. But if it's very rigid employment markets, such as Germany, Japan, and so forth, companies try to use as much contingent work as possible. But then again, also some governments try to curtail that. And then also, of course, availability. Because if there's so many permanent jobs, no one needs such a contingent work. Because contingent work usually do not pay benefits.